Jill Fetcher, Chief Growth Officer at Cypress North. We're a digital agency in Buffalo, New York, and you're listening to the Agency Scoop. Each episode, I'll tackle a specific topic from an agency point of view. We're going to talk about what's helping us grow, challenges that we face, how we're working with our clients, and even things that bring us joy. Welcome to this month's episode of the Agency Scoop, where we're going to talk about what makes a match made in heaven between clients and agencies. I'm joined here today by my colleague, Cole Soldwisch, a digital marketing manager at Cypress North. Cole's been here almost 5 years, right, Cole?
Coming up on 5 years, yep.
Yeah, so you know a little bit about good clients and bad clients.
Seen some turnover in my days.
in the best ways, I'm sure.
Of course, always for the better.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about kind of what makes a good client partnership, what agencies should look for, what clients should look for in an agency, what we look for, and we'd love to hear everyone else's thoughts as well. So when an agency is first starting out, I know it's tempting to just take on anything that'll make money. And, you need to pay the bills, you need to pay your people. So you're like, okay, this client wants us, we're going to take it. And then as you grow, you get to be a little more choosy. So one of the clients that came to us a few months ago for a proposal asked us to put in the proposal why we wanted to work with them. Which I thought was really interesting because usually it's like, tell us why we should work with you. And so that made me want to work with them more actually because they were asking us to sell them on why they'd be a good client, which I thought was cool. So it kind of got us thinking and created this topic for the podcast.
Absolutely. And we're not really a flashy agency. We don't normally pitch that way. So for someone to ask why we are a good agency and why the people that we have at our agency is are really beneficial for us because we'd rather talk about our team and talk about the way that we work more than just pitch something flashy with, bright branding and all sorts of crazy slides and all of that. It's just how we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it works better when it's a good fit than when it's just you're impressed by us or we want your money. We want to be a good fit in other reasons. So
yeah, I think that some places we see here in Buffalo, other agencies, they're sort of like a take the money first and figure out what to do with it later. And again, we're always right up front. We just say what we're good at and what we could help you with and what we, could do for you, basically.
Yeah. Well, let's dig in here. We can talk about some things that we think make a good client. Or things that we look for when we're looking for new clients or we're looking to take on a new client. And maybe we'll talk about some things that we don't like or some red flags. I think that'll be fun. So Cole, what's the first thing that you think is important in a client coming on board?
I would say it's, marketing 101. It's a good product. I know it sounds really simplistic, but the biggest piece is, you can't fix a bad product with marketing. And, something that somebody really wants, something that somebody will use, and something that somebody talks about. So we have this one client now that is really big on social proof and, all these different posts that he has. People are tagging each other and talking about this product. And that type of product is something that we get really excited about because something that someone really wants and tells other people about is really makes our job a lot easier. And, it's just one piece of the puzzle there.
Yeah. Well, it not only makes it easier, it's exciting to talk about as an agency too. It'll be work that we're proud of, a brand that we're proud to get behind, something that's easy to market to their consumers or their clients or their customers, but also easy to market for us too, that, hey, we work with this awesome brand that is well known or has a great following.
One thing that I always think about when it comes to a good product is when businesses come to us and sort of expect us to be their magic bullet. So we mentioned you can't fix a good product. And so we can do a lot from the website standpoint. We can fix marketing messaging. We can fix product images, all these different things. But at the end of the day, if the product isn't something that somebody wants, it's going to be really hard for us to bring those results in.
Yeah. Well, and if we get a lot of people to buy it and then they hate the product or they don't like it or, and they put negative reviews out there, then it's kind of the opposite of that good social proof. So
exactly,
not good. Adding to that, kind of a company with values that match ours, I think is important. And that doesn't always come through right away, or you don't always know that. But things like like tobacco companies or somebody that wants you to do a political smear campaign, something like that, where it might make your employees of the agency nervous or uncomfortable, or that they don't believe in those types of products. It's really important to know what you want to take and not take as an agency when it comes to things like that, and to kind of stand by your values. So I think that's important. One thing that I think is really cool about the clients that we have here is that we work with a lot of companies where the work we do truly matters. And that might be different if you're not a performance-based agency. We're more performance-based digital marketing. We don't do a ton of awareness advertising or things like that. We want to make sure that we're driving conversions and sales and leads. And it's great working with people that truly matters to them.
Absolutely. And I always think about, I love working with the smaller brands. It's so much more rewarding to deliver somebody's first $1 million month than, their 120th $1 million month. You know what I mean? So I love working with small brands, seeing the excitement when they're amped, we're amped, and it's just a lot more fun to work with those smaller brands. And that's not to say, it's exciting. It's still exciting to get that X% revenue growth of a bigger company, but there's just something about that relationship with a smaller brand that's really special for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and big or small, it's good to be an extension of that team where they see us that way, where we are really giving them the results, giving them the data, and they're giving it back to us, like things that we don't have insights to. If they're sharing those wins and those celebrations with us, that feels great. So sometimes that's hard to know at the beginning when you're pitching a client if they're really going to be a part of your team, because every agency says they want a partner in a client, and every client says they want a partner in an agency. And so it's not always easy to sniff out if they're actually going to act like a partner or not. But it is something that we truly love in clients here.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about that. I mean, hiring an agency, there's always the idea of pushing off the work. Like, that's the reason you hire an agency. But our results are better and we work better if we get feedback. I always say the more feedback we get, the better. It's just going to help us do better and drive better results and function together as an agency.
Yeah, for sure. And I think part of that, so that leads me to kind of our next thing that we wanted to talk about. A team that's really easy to work with is someone that's forthright with information and knowledgeable. And last month on the Agency Scoop, Jess and I talked about one of our values being transparency and being really transparent with our clients. And that's something that we need people to be with us. Absolutely. It's so hard to work with clients when you feel like they're hiding things from you, or not even hiding things from you in like a secretive bad way, but more like, oh, I'm not allowed to tell you that because you're a vendor, or, this or that. So anybody that can really be open with us and tell us their goals and what they like, what they don't like, I think that's so important.
And one thing I always think about is just having that seat at that table. So we have clients where, sometimes there's meetings that we're not involved in and there's context that we're missing. And I always think about, if we just had that seat and we were in some of those conversations, we were in some of those meetings, that we could influence things earlier. We could be, more beneficial to their decisions and helping them make decisions, and just seeing those results come through.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. When we're there and we're doing that, you get better results. And that's why you hire an agency, to get better results. So it's just easy. Easy math.
Go agencies.
Yeah, exactly. So, one of the other things that we always talk about is a group that's open to improvement. So a lot of agencies we've all worked with clients that the CMO changes, so they change their agency or they go on an agency search. And really what they want is an agency that has that CMO stamp on it, or, that they just like better or something. But then you get in and they're like, oh, well, this is how we've always done it, or this is who does that. This is what we do here. And we really love working with people that are like, here's what we've done, but what do you guys think? Like, we should do it better. We can get better results. We can do something even more impactful. And that's what we want. Like something that where people don't feel that like, oh, well, I created this and now we can't change it.
Yeah, I always think about having clients that want to put their stamp on things. Like, it's okay to have your opinion and give us feedback and pushback, and we love that. But somebody who wants to have the final word is always a little bit difficult to work with. And I always think about the fact that, with marketing, this is true in any sense of marketing, things change so rapidly, and especially in digital, what we do, you basically have to be open to change or else you're not going to survive. So, working with someone that is open to trying new things or pivoting away from strategies or, rewriting content or, whatever it takes to have that continual improvement, that's really where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really important too. So I guess from the flip side, and a little bit what we've been talking about, but what clients should want from their agency, what they should expect from an agency, especially an agency like ours, I guess, because this is all about our opinions. I think someone that they respect and that they value their opinions. A client shouldn't want an agency to just do whatever they want. They should want someone that will give them their true and honest opinion and want to make things better.
Yeah, and I think that's where agencies can get a bad rap sometimes is, if they're just taking orders, they're not pushing back and they're not, stepping in when they should or giving direction when they should. That's where, agencies are kind of faulted and, are not doing their job in service as an agency.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's when agencies get frustrated too, when they don't push back or or their opinions aren't heard or they don't feel like that true partner. Then when things come out, the people that work for the agency are like, yeah, but the client made us do it this way or that way. It is good when there's that respect for both parties where
absolutely.
You can
the
push
work
back.
comes out better, the results are better. And then, just the product that you come out with as an agency, you're more proud of it. If you're just taking answers and you're changing everything that they say to change, then it's not really your work.
Yeah, true. Then you're just kind of a robot.
Mm-hmm. Nobody wants a robot.
You're machine learning. So yeah, I think someone that'll push back, not really just an order taker. Transparency, we talked about a lot already. I've worked with clients in past years. Not here. We love all of our Cypress North clients listening today. But I've worked with clients in the past at another place that treat their agency like their own punching bag. Like they want someone to do exactly what they want. They don't necessarily agree with each other internally. So they want the agency to take one side over the other, and the agency works for all of them. So it becomes
mm-hmm.
like this political battle. So it's really good when you can have that nice working relationship where the agency works for the company, for the brand, for the client, not for this person there or that person there.
And to your point, another thing that I was thinking about is a client should want their agency to want to be involved and want to talk to all the different departments in their company, whether it's the marketing team, the development team, the CMO, the CEO. All of those conversations add a lot of context, and it's just another way to help the agency get better results and thrive.
Mm-hmm. One other thing that I think that clients should want when they look for an agency is really they need to just look at the people. Agencies are only as good as the people they have, right? So mm-hmm. They need to look at, do they trust that person? Do they have the experience that they're looking for? Do they have the kind of creative that they need? Do they have can they back up the talk about results and what they've done before? And, do they like working with them? So just like we want to work with someone with a great product, clients want to work with agencies with great people because that's our product. That's the only thing we have. So if our great people leave, we got nothing.
Yeah, and we always talk about, spending money as if it was our own. And that's just, part of the piece of our honesty here at Cypress North. And that's definitely what you should look for is someone who's going to act like it's their product, act like it's their money, act like it's their budget. And, that is what is going to work for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always say that people don't work with you because of what you can do, but they also want to like working with you. I think that's a big thing, that people don't want to work with people that they don't enjoy. And I don't like to work with people that I don't enjoy working with.
Those calls are just a little bit more awkward.
Right? Like, I don't know. And even that first call when someone says, hey, I want to get a quote from Cypress North, and I'm usually in that call and I'm talking to them, and I want to make sure that they're going to be kind of like that they like us, right? And that we like them, that they're not all, oh, well, what can you do for me? Or they're, gruff or they seem crabby. I don't know. Like, I want to work with people that I like, and I think that clients should want to work with people that they like too.
Yeah, there's definitely a personality aspect that plays a role, and I think we try and do a good job of that here at Cypress North. Of course, we have people that have different skill sets and whatnot, and sometimes clients match up just based on what folks know. But I think also pairing up personalities works really well. Like, I always think of Jess when I think about this, is she just has these amazing client relationships, and she just it's her personality that shines through that really gets her clients excited and engaged in their conversations, and it's just always fun listening to her through the wall on a call.
Yeah, when they're comparing their weekends and things like that, like that always makes for a good relationship. You want someone that you can talk to and that they want to talk to you, and then like we said, the people are who are going to get you those best results. So knowing who you're working with as a client when you're going to talk to an agency, that you're not just talking to the salesperson, and that you're talking to, like, who's my team going to be? Who can I call if something goes wrong? Am I talking to the most experienced people, but then when I sign on the dotted line, I'm going to get someone that you just hired and that has no experience. So knowing those things and knowing, all of the information about the people that you're going to work with is just so important. And that's how you're going to get those results, is just feeling more comfortable and being able to do all of that.
You don't want that bait and switch that agencies do where they put those baby account managers on your accounts and all of that. So, and that's something that I think that we do a really nice job with here at Cypress is, whenever we're pitching somebody or talking to somebody, we bring the whole team on who might potentially work with them. And, we say, hey, Cole's been here for 5 years. Ala's been here for a couple months and that kind of thing. And we just are honest and upfront, and we're saying, hey, these people are who they are. These people have their skill sets and all of that.
Yeah, I think that's great. So some red flags about clients and maybe about agencies when you're looking for an agency. But when we're talking to people that are trying to get a proposal or quote, there's definitely some red flags that tell us, like, maybe we want to cut these guys loose and push them off or give them another recommendation to another agency or something like that.
What's your biggest red flag, Jill?
Okay, so my biggest red flag is when someone can't give you a piece of crucial information, namely the budget. Clients that give me their budget up front are like angels. They're wonderful. They're just great. They if you're spending $2,000 or $2 million, around what you're spending or what you're looking for, a ballpark budget. And I think that is so helpful to know if it's going to be a fit or not. If they are going to be too big for us or too small, or that, if they know what something should cost or is around the right ballpark. So it saves people a lot of time. It saves time on the client side and on the agency side if they know their budget. But then other information too, their goals, what they want to do, like all of those things are really crucial as well.
Yeah, I think there was something I was thinking about with budgets. It's really interesting because, sometimes I've run into clients in the past that have this almost like hidden budget, if you want to call it that, where, all of a sudden they'll sort of pull out this budget and was like, basically say, hey, where was that budget, 2 months ago? And to my point with that is, sometimes you have to prove out your marketing first before you see more budget. So that's one thing to consider is, if you're upfront with a client, you say, hey, okay, I know that this is the budget you talked about, but what about 3 months from now? What about after we see X return? That's one consideration is, to your point, there's budget up front, but there may be budget that comes out later. And from a media spend standpoint, knowing that more budget might be on the horizon is really important for us because, say there's a client that has a $3,000 budget and that budget isn't going to change. We're going to put certain constraints in place to keep that spend small, and we're going to work a lot harder to make more out of that spend that we have versus somebody who might have spend that scales to $15,000 in a month and we're starting at 3. Like, we're going to look for results right off the bat, and we're going to start slow. We're going to put those same parameters in place, but the difference is when we can scale that, we're going to bid differently. We're going to have different strategies in place that allow us to, grow that revenue, grow that return. And, some of these automated bidding strategies that we see in Google Ads and Microsoft Ads, those limit performance. Certain strategies, if you put more money into it, you're not going to get more money out of it. Some strategies work better with smaller budgets and constrained budgets. And, in these bigger accounts, you just can't use those strategies. And, there's reps out there from some of these platforms that we work with that put these clients and set these campaigns up, and they do all these things and they recommend all these, automated strategies. And some of that just won't work for big budgets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's also when we're recommending things. That's why it's important to know what the budgets are, what the goals are, what your future goals are, even if it doesn't pertain to whatever the campaign or project is that you're hiring us for. If you have future business goals that we should know about, like you're, hiring us for this one product line, but in 6 months you're going to have 10 other product lines. That's really important for us to know, to be able to come up with the right strategies, to tell you the right information. So when you're missing crucial pieces of information and you can tell you're missing crucial pieces of information, that's a huge red flag.
Totally. And I think another consideration is just the departments within a company too. So, maybe it's not so much a red flag, but it's just sort of a consideration. If they don't bring up their different departments and what their different departments are trying to do, we've had clients in the past where there's overlap between the departments, and then it's really hard to sort of figure out where to spend and where to set up certain campaigns to run to which departments, because if there's that overlap and they're trying to hit different goals, they're not explaining these goals, it can be really messy really quickly.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And even different decision makers. So when you're talking to someone that you're coordinating a proposal with and they're saying, oh, yeah, it's just me, and you're presenting to them, but then they have a team of 10 people that they have to then sell your agency for you, and you don't get to meet those decision makers, that's a red flag to me, that you don't know who else is involved in ranking you or scoring you. You want to be able to meet those people too and find out what their goals are and what makes them tick.
100%. And that's something that we always talk about here at Cypress, is just figuring out who the right person to get in front of is. A lot of times we build these amazing client relationships with our point of contact, but at the end of the day, sometimes that point of contact doesn't have the, final decision on budgets or the final decision on what's happening in next year. And so we're always looking for, okay, who's the next step above? Or like, who could we make friends with? Who could we get in front of?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Last red flag that I have is inflexibility. And I think I have so many stories of this from my days of business development, my years of business development, of when there's no flexibility in asking questions about an RFP or an assignment that they want you to quote on, not being able to change a deadline or talk to someone on the phone. I think that's a huge red flag. If they want you to quote on something, but you can't even get them on the phone to ask a question, or you can only ask questions by a certain day. And if you have a question after that, like, never mind, you're done. You don't get a question to ask then. That's a hard thing to deal with, and it kind of shows like what that company might be like working in the future if they have that inflexibility.
Yeah, if they don't want to get on the phone and talk about the proposal, what's going to happen when you have to talk about a change that you have to make, or a pivot that you have to make, or anything along those lines.
A good example of flexibility, we had a recent prospect recently who gave us a write-up of what they wanted, but there was a lot of, from a dev project, and there was a lot of information missing, and they wanted a quote by a certain day, but they were very open to having several conversations with us, and as we kept talking, even getting close to that day, they still didn't have a lot of answers to the questions we were asking them, and they were super flexible with saying, no, that's okay, we get it, we know, our deadlines are kind of out the window now because we know we didn't give you what you need, and we're working on it. And they were really willing to work with us, and we kept giving them information in different ways, so it didn't take the form of the standard proposal that they were thinking it would. And it was kind of fun working with them on this process because it did kind of go back and forth, and it wasn't just a straight, here's what we want, here's a quote. It was just a sharing of knowledge back and forth. And so hopefully we get that project, because I think they'll be really great to work with. And when you're flexible like that and you can go back and forth as a team, the end result will be so much better.
Yeah, I liked what you said about the proposal not taking the form that they thought it would. And it kind of brings me back to what we talked about a little bit before about how we are not really a flashy pitcher or a presentation, giver, I would say. And that sort of goes back to this whole idea of this RFP process where, I think sometimes, these larger companies have these really, really strict, guidelines and parameters for these RFPs. And I don't know if that, is something that we really shine with, pitching that way. So, somebody who is willing to be flexible even in the actual pitch and the presentation and how we go about gaining the business is something to consider too.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, this was really fun. I'm glad that we could have this chat and talk about, finding our perfect match made in heaven. It's a little past Valentine's Day, but it feels appropriate.
It's close enough.
So thank you so much for doing this with me, Cole. It was a great time. And I hope that maybe you'll be a future guest again on the Agency Scoop.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Agency Scoop. If you liked what you heard, you can subscribe so you don't miss a show. You can also find us on the Cypress North YouTube channel or follow the Agency Scoop on Twitter and LinkedIn. I'd love to hear your ideas for future topics. See you next time on the Agency Scoop.